action!
Hello, New York. I'm here with the amazing author, Jon Michaud, of When Tito Loved Clara. Awesome novel. And we're just going to ask a few questions about the book, and then you're going to go out and you're going to get it. So here we go. Can you tell us a little about the inspiration? I know it takes place predominantly in Inwood, so it's sort of a New York-centric book.
That's right. I wrote it after I met my wife, who lived in Inwood and who's Dominican, and I moved up into Inwood with her and spent some time in the neighborhood, and I got inspired to write a story about the neighborhood because I felt like nobody had really written a novel about Inwood.
So was there like a lot of, for you, culture shock when you got there? Was there a lot of new things going on, or had you experienced that type of a life?
Well, I'd never really spent much time with the Dominicans, and so I have to say I felt immediately at home with them. They're like a crazy, fun-loving bunch of people, and they really welcomed me, and of course it didn't hurt that I was totally in love with my wife. I ended up marrying her. But also the neighborhood was really interesting. It's full of history, and it was like a microcosm of New York, and so I wanted to write about that.
Is it how long were you there until you realized that you wanted to write about it?
I was there a couple of years, and I would walk around the neighborhood and read about the history of the neighborhood. And, like that's apparently where Peter Minuit cut the deal for Manhattan Island with the Indians. He is in Inwood. Like all this rich history. And then I would talk to my wife and her family about their experiences immigrating to the U.S. and things. So I just thought it would be a rich subject. And then I just felt like nobody had written about it. This is a beautiful pastoral part of New York City that was unwritten about, undiscovered.
I think it's not just unwritten about, but it's undiscovered through literature, but it's also undiscovered from New Yorkers. I mean, I've lived in Manhattan 20-something years, and I have spent very little time in those neighborhoods.
Yeah, and it's got the only old-growth forest left in New York. It's got the Cloisters, which is the Metropolitan Museum's medieval collection. It's got the Columbia University playing fields. It's got one of the oldest houses in New York, this Dutch farmhouse that dates to the 18th century, right on Broadway and 204th Street. So it's just a really interesting place. A lot of old Irish population that lives up there from the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and now there's a lot of Dominicans, so it's a neighborhood in flux. And these days, there's a lot of really great bars and restaurants that have opened up there. So
awesome. Well, I have read the book, and it was thoroughly enjoyable. And I to this day, I feel like I think about the characters when I'm walking through the town, and I'm thinking, where are they, and what are they doing with their lives, and how is New York, what the role of New York played in their lives, and what is the role it's still playing in their lives to this day.
Well, that's great to hear. I wanted to write a New York novel, a novel about New York, and so if you feel like those characters are still alive in the city today, then I've achieved the goal. That's wonderful to hear. It's a wonderful When Tito Loved Clara, published by Algonquin Books of Chapel Hill, and my name is Jon Michaud.
And I'm Jed Weinstein from Heth and Jed, and we're New York, baby.
Rock on! Yeah, baby, New York!